Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Top Cyber Pro podcast. I'm founder and CEO Jim West. I have a wonderful guest today, and this guest goes by the tagline or the profile name, The Profiler. So his profile name is The Profiler, and we're going to get into a lot about what that means and what he does for the whole industry in the world because he does some pretty impressive work. I'm going to just run down a couple of the hats and titles he has. He's an investigator, he's a writer, he's a public speaker, and he's also a consultant, executive. He does, and the main thing we're going to talk about today is he is an external threat and impersonation subject matter expert. So without further ado, Jay Jones, welcome to the Top Cyber Pro podcast.
Thank you, Jim. Great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So let's talk about the most impressive stat here. So if you look at this, look up this guy on social media, on LinkedIn, one of his most impressive stats is he's got nearly 55,000 fake jobs removed from the internet and 7,000 and counting, because he's still working on this, guys. He doesn't stop. Profiles, fake profiles removed, because anyone that's in the IT cyber field knows the pain of going to apply to hundreds and hundreds of jobs, and a lot of them are scams. A lot of them are fake jobs that don't exist, and it's frustrating for a lot of people that are looking for work. And this man made it his personal crusade to tackle this problem. So let's talk about the story of what made you pick up this flag and move forward to fight this injustice, if you will.
Well, I got laid off in December of 2023 from a senior copywriting role at an ad agency. I was there for nearly 4 years. And so the narrative that job seekers are told is to go to LinkedIn, put up the open to work banner, share their resume, and the
Sounds logical.
opportunities will abound. And, because I had heard rumblings about how bad the job market was back then. And when I got this immediate rush of attention, I was like, okay, maybe it's not that bad. But then when I looked at these recruiters, I realized that they were fake. I realized that they were stealing pictures of attractive women, pretending to be recruiters for different companies that didn't exist or were shell companies, which I'll get into later. But when I saw this initially, I didn't want to do the work. I wanted to just look the other way. But as I started to think about other people and them being deceived, I couldn't stand for it. And so, the mission is always educate, empower, and keep people from being deceived and losing money and worst cases, their lives because people have killed themselves behind this.
I had a job offer, and it's one of those when it sounds too good to be true, it often isn't. And so they approached me for a job that was in the National Capital Region area, and a lot of the jobs spoke to a lot of my strengths and experiences. And so, of course,
Of
I
course, yeah.
said, okay, well, here's my resume. Then they wanted to schedule a call, and then something caught my eye that was a little bit off. Is that they made the mistake of using one domain email to represent this other company that they were purporting to be, and that's when the spidey senses started to tingle. So of course I started checking the domains out and started once I went down a couple layers in the rabbit hole doing a little bit of OSINT techniques here. I quickly found out that their business addresses were like in strip malls and like rundown really small areas and towns across the US. They weren't as a global, kind of company that they purported or presented themselves to be. So once I started gathering all this information, actually tracking what their business really looked like in reality, it was very scary. I was like, wow. Of course, I reported it to certain individuals and groups for them to take it forward from there. But the point is that this really happens, and sometimes it's somewhat well organized. In some cases, they make a slip up every now and then. But for the average person, it's not really easy to detect and see these things. Can you kind of speak to kind of when you started going after these profiles? What were some of the things you were seeing?
I was looking up the physical locations like you did, and a lot of them trace back. Like either I would put in the address and it would lead to co-working spaces, and I contacted the co-working spaces and I asked them. I said, "Hey, is this business actually there? Are they renting a unit out of the building? They've never heard of this business. There are fake articles of incorporation through locations like companieshouse.uk. So basically, they'll make up a business on paper and it looks real, it looks legitimate if somebody does a cursory examination. But then when you cross reference it with the location not existing, with the person not being a real person, the content stolen on the profile belongs to somebody else who's been around for much longer than them, then that's when you start to see like how fraudulent it is. The different business names, like variations they'll use is Solutions LLC, or you'll see a lot of private limited company names, and it's no hard task to just create a name, create a domain. You can get verified on LinkedIn through a fake company and then have the check mark, and that legitimacy lends credibility, even though it was earned through false pretenses. So it's a massive thing.
Yes, man, and it's in some cases it's super well organized. I've had a colleague, and this was about maybe almost a decade ago, that actually fell victim to one of these things where it was too good to be true. And he worked overseas as a defense contractor, but he got an offer to go work in the UK. And it was again
Mhm.
one of these things sound too good to be true. It was a ridiculous salary, and compared to what he was making overseas
Yeah,
already. But then he went ahead, burnt his bridges with his current company he was working for at the time, put in his notice, basically, burnt every bridge he could because he just felt like now I'm the man, I'm getting all this money. And then this is where it got the slippery slope. They said, "Oh, well, for your visa processing, we have to do this particular investigation. We need you to go ahead and pay for it. And once you clear the investigation, you can submit it for reimbursement." So then next thing you know, he's got $1,000 that goes out the door, and then it was two, 3,000. All in all, I think they got him for just under $10,000 because it was always another hoop to jump through.
another
And
thing.
once he
Yeah, you're
started
almost
paying,
there. Yeah,
and yeah, you're almost there. You're just one more thing to do, and then you'll be past the whole application process. So it was less than about $10,000, and then finally, I think when we heard about it, he was already about $6,000 in, and we're like, man, you should never have to pay to get a job. And so we
no,
were like, this
never.
is probably a scam. And of course, he was very adamant that it wasn't because it's sunk cost fallacy. All those psychological things work against
I
you
put
because
in
you're
all this
already
time. Yeah,
pot committed. You've already sent all this money. You got to believe in that hope and the dream, and it was really bad once it came to work because of course he didn't tell us until we had to hear through the rumor mill like, man, he's no longer here, and they got him for just about 10,000. And I was like, wow, that's just amazing that a person just goes and it's a slippery slope, right? So have you also worked with victims that have been taken advantage of these profiles and fake jobs? Have you interfaced with any victims?
correct. Every single day, I actually have a few clients that are career coaches and resume writers who have been impersonated. And so, how these scammers work is they used to just drop a name or they'll piecemeal different pieces from real profiles and put them into an email outreach to their victims. And so, since my work has gained prominence and has done a lot of damage to them, they've actually pivoted more to actually taking entire screenshots of real profiles, putting them in the signature lines of emails to make it look legitimate, and taking it a step further, they'll directly link to the LinkedIn profiles of the people they're impersonating, because in the mind of the person that is being targeted, they'll be like, well, why would somebody pretend to be somebody and direct me to actually go to that same person? And so you're like, okay, yeah, this must be real. But then, if you look at the domain of the email address, if it's they claim they're working with Pepsi or they claim they're working with Volvo, but it's a Gmail address, but it says like Volvo HR or Volvo HR careers at Gmail. No, it's at Volvo.com. It's at PepsiCo.com. I actually have a case about that up right now. And what they do is they play on the fears of people. And I had this happen about maybe a year and a half ago, where one woman was recruited to leave and join a company called Epsilon, which is a real business, but she was defrauded because they were pretending to be Epsilon and they defrauded her about $2,000. Then one woman, she had a customer service job and she thought she was taking a job with Shein, the clothing manufacturer out of China, I believe. And she quit her real job, took this fake job, got defrauded out of 2,000 plus in that instance too, and couldn't get a real job back. Back in December 2nd of 2025, last year, somebody reached out to me about a case that I had referencing a company called Ivory Systems, which is a real recruitment firm, but it was being impersonated by bad actors. They had sent her a check for $3,450. And I was like, hey, let me see this check to look at it and make sure it's real or not. It was, and I stopped her from depositing it. But she had a start date of December 17th. So had she started, deposited that check, she would have been out that money and the money that she used for the home desktop scam, which is they send you the check, you get the difference after you buy the equipment through their approved vendor's website, but they're the approved vendor pretending to be somebody else.
Mhm. It's just amazing how, it's ugly, it's immoral, it's despicable. There's so many words we can label these bad actors that are doing the thing. But at the end of the day, they're just a scammer like any other scammer. This is just the approach and method that they're using or the tactics and techniques that they're using. And it's real interesting
Yeah.
that you're talking about how since you've been going after them and making a huge impact against, their operations, that they're changing some of their tactics. Like you said, putting the screenshots in the emails directly linking to who they're impersonating. It's real interesting to see how they're evolving evolving or trying to I guess maneuver around the great work you've done so far. But it seems like you're quick to catch up to it, what their new tactics are, and still go after them. So what is can you speak to maybe what's the process of when you do identify one? What are some of the initial steps that you take? And again, if it's something proprietary or you rather not put it out in the public domain, I completely respect it because I respect the work that you're doing. But is there
Thank
something
you.
you can share with us, like kind of how your methodology is, how you approach, gathering your recon, your information gather, and how you actually take these things down, these bad actors down?
Yeah, since I've been doing it so long every day, for over 2 years now, I can tell how the structure and the outreach looks pretty immediately. And then from there, they're like cockroaches. When you turn the light on, they run. And so that's what they hate. They want to operate in anonymity. And like you mentioned with the gentleman who was scammed, he burned all his bridges. You heard through the grapevine that he was scammed. He didn't come and tell you because there's that shame there.
Yes.
And when you have the shame and you don't want people to know, that allows these scams to proliferate. So what I do is I'll take their exact verbiage, I'll put it in the cases that I have. I'll show you, hey, this is how they communicate with you. This is how they set you up to be played. This is how they continue to make it look legitimate. This is what you need to be doing from the very beginning. Anytime, and I hate to say this, but job seekers have to treat everything as suspicious and then run it through internal protocols before they even respond to the message, because a lot of it is just fishing to see if you would actually respond. They bait. For me, they've actually tried to align themselves with me. They'll send me messages like, hey, how do you do this? And try to pick my brain. I've had people impersonate somebody else and try to act like they were feeding me intel on a company I was already investigating. And, I'll play along. Like, I always know what's going on, but I'll play
Mhm.
along and let them think like, oh, they're getting one over on me. But these are the levels that they'll go to deceive people.
I can imagine
But
that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're on their top of their most hated list. So I'm sure they've come at you to try to whether to embarrass you or to try to compromise you in any way. I can only imagine, and even what the future would look like as you grow these numbers, as you take more and more of these scammers down. Um, Before we get to, I know you got some content you want to show us. Before we get to that, I'd like to ask, what is your day one story? I know you mentioned that you was, looking for work and then you came across this, but what is your day one story that got you to go into IT, cyber, and get into this world? Was it the story of looking for the job, and that's what made you jump in the pool for industry, or was there another story there?
It started out of necessity because I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want it to detract or blur the lines between me being a copywriter. And then all of a sudden, you see this guy who was a copywriter his entire career suddenly talking about scams because I have a friend of mine. She was like, a confused mind doesn't buy. And so I get it at one point. And so I was wrestling with, how do I actually marry the two, where you see like, yes, I'm still a writer, but I'm also doing this at the same time. And, behind the scenes, people are like, no, this is a real business. This has real impact. You should actually formalize it, because I never started it out to make it a business. I started it out because it was purposeful, and it still is. And now it's a formalized business. But my background has always been writing, copywriting, and things like that. And like I said, I was laid off after being at an ad agency for nearly 4 years. And so when I saw this problem in the job market, I was like, either I look the other way, which I couldn't live with because it's that bystander effect thing. Like, somebody else will do it. And, I've referenced this before. Like, I like the movie Logan. And there's a scene where the horses get out on the highway. And then Logan, he's tired from, being a hero all these years. And he's like, somebody else will come along. And the Professor X is like, someone has come along. And it's like that ability to realize within yourself, you have everything to do something. Like, I'm one man and I've achieved these results. And it's like, one person is more than enough. It started from the word no. One no is more than enough. It's like, it doesn't matter the size or how big they portray themselves to be. No, that's it.
Well, the whole industry owes you a debt of gratitude because, again, the numbers by themselves are impressive. I'll remind everyone over almost 55,000 fake job positions eliminated off the internet, and 7,000 accounting profiles also removed and eliminated. Because for everyone out there that's ever been, applied to jobs or maybe even did catch that it was a scam and it was not a real job, and all that frustration of the time and energy that you do responding, applying to jobs, it's frustrating for so many professionals out there. And here we have someone fighting the good fight for everyone. And so I just, my hat's off to you. I have so much respect for the work that you're doing. And I hope that your company only grows and grows as more companies want to protect our reputation reputations because, as you said, these people are being impersonated. People that have long-standing reputation and careers that is being compromised. And I hope more and more business reach out to you and you grow your business and hopefully become one of the top, protectors, if you will, of the job market. Because again, we hear these stories and reports that there's, a gap, skills gap in cybersecurity. We need more people in cybersecurity, but at the same time, the scammers are there, waiting at bay for people that don't know better. And so, again, keep up that good fight. My next
Thank you.
question is though, along your journey and into doing what you're doing and becoming the profiler, has there been people like managers, colleagues, coworkers, directors, bosses, or people in the industry you looked up to and admired that had a positive impact onto your journey thus far? And I think of this question as kind of like that Oscars acceptance speech. I know you're not going to be able to think of all the names of everyone to thank, but it's kind of the goal of the question is shine a light on those who've had a positive impact on you.
Yeah, the first few that come to mind are Mark Anthony Dyson, Russell Irby, Ashley Price Horton, Danietta Fleming, Erica Jefferson, Aaron West, Mark Evans, and many more people. Robert Wetstein is another person as well. Freddie Massimi. I could go on and on, but all of these people, when I first jumped on the scene, so to speak, they didn't know me, but they saw the heart and the mission and the intention and the sincerity in the work that I have. And, they've advocated for me. They brought me onto their platforms. They've welcomed me, promoted the work, always been, true staunch supporters and, backed it up with their actions, not just words. And so those are the people that jump to mind for me. And the people themselves, the job seekers, because there's this time that we're in where if you're looking for work or if you're laid off, you're suddenly valueless. And there's this debate about using the green banner. It means you're desperate, and that I think that's complete garbage. Because when you're told by the platform, use this banner to increase your reach, but then the people who would actually reach back from seeing that banner tell you that you look desperate, and that's not something we're looking for. Like, it's an entitled state of mind to have. It's a really disgusting way to look at things because people are on the edge, they're on the brink, they're following all these rules and these steps and complying and doing this and that. And at the end of the day, they're left, destitute, poverty, homeless. And, what is the end goal here? How do you actually fix this? And it's by going after the bad actors, it's by dismantling this corrupt system, and it's by dismantling everything that's put in place to keep it going and keep things running as usual, because this is not business as usual anymore.
Well said. And again, thanks for doing this tireless effort to make the job market a better place, a more welcoming place for a lot of folks out there. Because again,
Thank you.
we hear it all the time of the frustrations of so many people that are looking for work. So with this being said, I'd like to take a little break and do what I call my moment of levity. And where I'm going to do is I'm going to fire some rapid fire questions at you. Just whatever the first answer pops in your head, just blurt out the answer. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just for fun. Take a little break from the subject matter right now. So I'm gonna hit you with an easy one. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
um, Technically speaking, because it's between bread. So yes,
It's between bread, it's a sandwich. You heard it from Jay. Next one,
yeah,
cake or pie?
pie.
What kind of
Well, no,
pie?
no, no, no. Well,
Oh,
no,
it's
cake,
going back to
strawberry
cake.
cheesecake,
So what kind of cake?
strawberry cheesecake, if
Strawberry
that
cheesecake.
counts.
Hot or
Yeah,
cold strawberry cheesecake?
cold.
Cold. All right.
Yeah.
This one's going to split the room of IT professionals, and it's just what it does. But Star Wars or Star Trek?
See, I like both. Like, I used to watch Star Trek Voyager with
Okay.
Kate Mulgrew,
Okay.
and then I watched Deep Space Nine,
Deep Space
and then I
Nine,
like a
Cisco, Commander
yeah,
Cisco.
yeah. I like a few of the Star Wars movies, but I've never been like a Trekkie or a Star Wars like aficionado. So,
Okay. So you support both franchises. Good on you. What has been your most favorite book of all time, and what was the last book that you've read?
the Bible, and then the last book that I've read is The Red Market by Scott Carney, and that book focuses on human trafficking of organs.
That's a great topic. Years ago, I worked on one of the largest at that time human trafficking task forces, and we did a lot of good work for the world at
Yeah,
that time. So let's get right back into it. I know you got some content you want to share. So if you got your screen ready and you want to show us some visuals here, the control is in your hands.
sure thing. One second. Just let me know when you can see it.
Okay. It looks like we're just waiting for the share screen. There we go. I can see it.
All right. So This is a situation I've been dealing with actually since about May last year, trying to get this company banned from LinkedIn because what they do is they scrape jobs and then they post these jobs acting like they're the ones hiring for them, and they insert themselves into the hiring process to collect people's personal information as much as possible, but it starts with their email, and they gatekeep the actual real job by inserting themselves into the middle of it.
Hmm.
And so initially, when I first found this company, quote unquote, they had 573 jobs that were scraped on their page, and I got those taken down. But since then, they've pivoted. They've added more jobs that they don't have any authorization to use and to post. And then they've taken it further by creating shell companies. And obviously, you know what a shell company is, but for those that don't, it's a company that exists on paper only. And the sole purpose of it is to defraud people and collect as much information as possible and to give the illusion of actual legitimacy to people who don't know how to look for a shell company. Let me maximize this though. So when I first reported these four companies that you see here is HireCrab, HireRenza, Best Job Tool, and FetchJobs.co. HireCrab is a real name. It was this Indian outfit that were doing the same things that Talentify is doing now and has been. But I got those pages, the first three deleted. LinkedIn told me that they removed fetchjobs.co, but it's still there. It's still active to this day. But the reason I went after them first before going after Talentify is because of legal precedent. And because in a legal standpoint, when there's a precedent, you have to operate after that precedent. And
Yep.
so for me, it's like going after Talentify for doing the same thing that they already removed HireCrap, HireRenza, and Best Job Tool for. You have no argument. It's indefensible to leave Talentify and these other shell companies that I'll mention up. So these are just different breakdowns of what they're actually doing, but
Hey,
there are eight
Jay,
shell
just to
companies.
pause for a minute,
Mhm.
there's a couple great boxes on your screen share here.
Oh,
Maybe if you,
hold on.
I didn't know if that's on
I'll
your end.
stop and come back.
You can come right
Hold
back.
on one
That,
second.
yeah, I just want to make sure we get the full presentation there.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. It should be clear now. Let me know if it's not.
We still got, there's a box over here on the top right, and then there's, but yeah, if you go full screen, let's see if we can just,
Okay. One second.
there.
Okay. So there are eight shell
Sure, we'll just,
companies that Talentify has. And what's going on is, well, first, all the blocks gone.
no, they're still there, but we'll just
All right.
proceed.
It's
It's no
fine.
worries.
So there are eight shell companies that are operating. The first one is Cyber Focus AI. They target security professionals. And so they scrape security jobs and customer service jobs, post them on LinkedIn, get people to apply to them, and it goes nowhere because they're pretending to have a client relationship with the businesses that they've copied these jobs from. They don't exist because the domain is parked at Hostinger.
Hmm.
Number two, Mosaic Talent Consulting. They focus on defrauding executive assistants, accounts payable, and scheduling professionals because these are the people that have the keys to different businesses.
Hmm.
So if you get people to apply to these jobs because the end goal is to get their information, and then the bad actors turn around and apply to jobs as these people using the resumes that they've harvested.
Hmm.
So this is a major reason why so many people are like, well, I'm
So not
perfectly
only are they posting jobs, they're actually taking people's information and applying to jobs to potentially do fraud with actual businesses. Wow.
correct, because so many companies' hiring pipelines are infested with fraudulent candidates. And this is why, because when you trick the job seeker into giving over all this information, then you know how to pretend to be them in other avenues. And so a lot of people, they're like, I can't get hired. Why can't I get hired? And like a year and a half ago, I wondered maybe they're already blacklisted from these companies that they're trying to get into because of this very
So
issue.
there's so many innocent profiles, people that don't know they've been blacklisted because they've been impersonated. They would never know.
Correct.
Wow,
And the
that's
company
just
and the company has
insanity.
no yeah, and the company has no responsibility to like dig into this. Like if they
Yeah,
see a
they don't
red
have the
flag, they're just
resources or
gonna
time to do it.
yeah. And then again, Mosaic Talent Consulting doesn't exist. The third company, Pinnacle Method Consulting, they're targeting project managers. They have access to project plans, budgets, timelines, and et cetera. And so what they do is the more sophisticated scammers, they'll infiltrate a company watch how things are being communicated. And then from there, they can send invoices pretending to be a real business that already does business with the one that they infiltrated, get the invoice paid for 10,000 plus dollars, and then they're off in the wind with that money.
Mhm. And that's been in the
Again,
news recently where companies have paid what they thought was, invoices to partners to kind of find out
correct.
it was a fraudulent company. That is amazing.
And this is why that's happening. And then Pinnacle Method Consulting, that doesn't exist. Carestream Advisory Group is another one. They're targeting, let's see,
Healthcare.
yeah, healthcare. Because healthcare, millions and millions of records of people's health information. You can pretend to actually give
So
them
many
deals on
things that go out through
prescriptions.
accounting every day and it
Yeah,
just gets kind of lost in the wash. Wow.
correct. And it lead like the link bounced several times, and then it led to this virus protection. But this is a fake virus protection website. So if you download this at this great deal, quote unquote, you've just installed malware in your computer, and they're reading everything you're doing, and then you know exponentially augmenting the scam from there. And then these are the bounces that I captured in the initial process. Because if the average user sees security warning and this progress bar, they'll click this red X, but that red X is enough to actually get your computer infiltrated as well. Um, Again, it's reported as unsafe. Timeline Optimization Group is another one. They are trying to target healthcare as well, the same deal as the other business. But the point is, when you click apply on any of these jobs, they all led to talentify.io's website. And again, Timeline Optimization Group doesn't exist. This is Prism Data Consulting. Um, Same deal here. They this in this instance they had a $1 mandatory background check before you even applied. So you're never supposed to pay for a background check, especially before you even apply to the job. But they said this is mandatory. And again, the website doesn't exist. Resident CX Partners. Again, they're targeting customer service jobs where people are looking for quick money and something that they think is legitimate, but it's actually a way to turn you into a money mule or other nefarious activities. But this is customer service, healthcare, and executive assistance professional roles. Again, the website does not exist, doesn't exist. And then Orchestrate Consulting Group, they're targeting customer service and research assistance professionals. And then there's this other thing, say it led to the same antivirus fake offering. And so, summarizing it all up, they had at the time, this was a few weeks ago when I made this presentation, because behind the scenes I've been talking to LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, this is going on, this is the problem,
Hmm.
these need to be banned immediately. And first they were like, thank you for your report and doing your part to keep your LinkedIn community safe. And I'm like, no, not good enough, I'm still here. And then they gave me like 2, 3, 4, and now I'm on the fifth case number. They've transferred me to 4 different people, 4 different departments. They're telling me, oh, here's how you report fake jobs. It's like they're telling me how to report fake jobs, the irony. But it's this system that is in place to make people feel like something is being done to actually protect themselves. So when you tell people report a job, well, behind the scenes, this is what happens, nothing. And so, are you familiar with the auto follow feature when you apply to a job on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
So if people aren't familiar, what happens is when you apply to a job at a company's page, then you're automatically made to follow that page, because the thought is if you cared enough to apply to a job, then it would only make sense that you want to follow that company.
You got to
So how
uncheck
these
that little
companies,
box at the very bottom
yeah,
before you apply. Yeah.
and so how these companies get 5,000, 2,000, 12,000, and so on
And it
followers.
makes people it kind of is like a credibility check when people say, "Oh, they got, 10,000 followers, they got to be legitimate," right? It feeds into that belief system where people want to believe that that too good to be true job offer, that super high salary that should never make sense, right? But people want to believe, and when they look for, it's like kind of like what is the one saying? Like when you're trying to ski, you look for the path, the way, not the trees, right? But people are looking for
Mhm.
that path through all of the dangers of the flags that are there. But they're trying to look for those, like, oh, the number of followers. Look at this. Oh, there's people following him that I know that are connected to me in my profile. So it's all these little assurances that people are looking for to raise that mental credibility and that I guess that instant trust that they're trying to accomplish there. That's very scary right there. Dang.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I was saying is like they're gaming the follower count. And so people are trained in their mindset. If you have so many followers, then you're legitimate. I mean, if you look at the social media influencers, what is it about? Followers, followers, followers. Gain your audience, increase it as much as possible because then that's when the brand deals come in and et cetera. But when you game it by using these jobs that you have no business with, then you automatically are getting authority on autopilot under
Mm.
false pretenses. And at the time, it was 455 total scrape jobs. Because if you don't know what job scraping is, anytime a real business posts jobs on the internet, they can be scraped by crawlers. And then what these entities are doing, they're taking these jobs, whether they were real at one point or now expired, and then they'll directly put in each job description, we're not the direct hirer for these jobs, so we're posting them on behalf of our client, but they're not direct clients of these businesses. They're just saying that to throw people off because there was an instance where I called a company and I was like, "Hey, do you have any affiliation with this business?" And they were like, "No, we don't." But it's like nothing that they would actually go after because it really doesn't have that much of an effect on their business at the time. But as this continues, it will.
Mm. That's just astounding, the numbers and how, I mean, and that's what you just finding on LinkedIn. There's no telling about other job boards and things that people are going to apply for jobs, what they may look like. So have you looked into other job boards and other career websites yet, or is it right now your primary focus is LinkedIn?
It's LinkedIn Indeed, and then part of the 54,991 that I've taken down, 150 of those fake jobs were on Teal's website because I was working on a case on LinkedIn, and when I was doing some OSINT work, I found the same company listed on Teal's website, and that company was Angelique Horizons LLC, and so they had 150 of these data entry jobs and these other fake jobs listed. I contacted David Fano. I said, hey, these jobs on your website, they're fake, and here's why. And they took them down within about 2 hours.
Great. That is a great response there. Um, what one of the things I want to talk about is like, okay, someone watching right now that's listening up to this point going, okay, I have seen what I suspected was fake jobs. I didn't apply. They may have got lucky. Or maybe someone watching right now went down the rabbit hole a little bit, and when they started getting asked for money or the obvious red flag presented itself, and they just like, Jesus, I wasted days, numerous responses and replies, and I wasted the time and energy, right? And they're just frustrated, right? Is there a product or is there something that you offer on like a website, or is there a book that someone can use as a resource to help them be better prepared to detect these things and to avoid them? At the end of the day, time is valuable for everybody, right? So, is there something that you have on a site or somewhere? Is there a book that someone can get? Where can people learn to be better at detecting the fake profiles, the fake jobs?
Sure. So my website is theprofiler.org, and on there I have a free offering, which is Scam Detection Guide Volume 1. It goes down, it's a really high level look at the common types of jobs, what they're trying to do to deceive you, the kind of fake profiles that they set up, and the initial goal and how they reach out to you. Then I have a scam triage kit that's for $27.99. And basically, if you think you were scammed, these are the immediate action steps you need to take based upon my research and the casework to show you like these are the typical umbrella corporations that engage in this, and these are the typical places that you need to report quickly, and the next steps you need to take from hour one to day two, and so on. Then I have the more involved scam detection guide volume 2. That's $49.99, and I go deep into the levels of these profiles, the different types of outreaches that they do, the educational institutions they pretend to work for, the companies they pretend to work for, and educational institutions they pretended to have attended, different levels of how they communicate, what the response has been to this from LinkedIn when it comes to like the open to work hashtag and how that actually was a half measure. And I just break it all the way down. So it's a fully involved, well detailed guide to help keep you safe while you're looking for work or while you're running a business. And then I can show you something else briefly, which I'm developing. It's not ready yet, but this is an exclusive look at it.
Of course, I'd love to take a
Um,
look at it. And while he's getting that ready, folks, I'm just gonna, put something out there. I know some folks are doing the quick math in their head, like, oh, 27, $28 here, another, 40 something here. That's like almost $80. Folks, if you think about how valuable your time is, if you spend hours a week, and you're in the job market, time is of the essence. And if you're spending, minutes to hours clicking apply, you might think it's just, okay, I'm just doing easy apply. LinkedIn does have the easy apply where you do about 2, 3 clicks and you apply to that job. But you're doing that hundreds of times, just casting that net out over and over. But if you just take, $80, what is $80 when it's going to actually help you filter through becoming a victim and possibly wasting even more time? But it saves you the time and filtering what you apply to so you can get actually closer to applying to the real openings, the real jobs that are out there in the market. So that's one thing. That's the one benefit that, about roughly $80 is going to save you if you buy both the triage kit but let's say you start with the volume two. Get that deep knowledge so that you can filter the noise and the BS that's out there in the job market. That right there is a time saver for you. So for 40 something bucks, less than $50, you are saving yourself a tremendous amount of time. And then, of course, not becoming a victim so that if you do happen to slip up and do an easy apply and then they come after you with all these requests, you're going to be armed with the knowledge to detect it, to stop going down that rabbit hole and save yourself even more time and potentially becoming a victim. Isn't that worth the price of just having that knowledge and that assurance that you are better prepared to detect that stuff, folks? So again, for folks that might be thinking, oh, that's too pricey, think about the time, folks. It's all about time. And what he's done together is put together and filtered all of that information down to what you need to know, get you right to where you get the flags, you can start seeing it immediately. So I'm not trying to advocate and try to promote his book. What I'm trying to say is I know what a lot of people in IT and cyber, a lot of us could be, I'll just say the word, a lot of us could be really stingy with our money. But you got to start thinking in terms of time and your effort that you're doing clicking because you're trying to find that next job, you're trying to find that next opportunity. But at the same time, if you can actually filter the noise, 40 some bucks is a bargain to help filter the noise and get to the actual jobs that are out there so you don't waste your time spinning wheels, folks. So sorry about that, Jay. Jay did not ask me to do that. I'm just, just saying, folks, you got to start, when you see prices of things, you got to think in terms of how much time it's going to save because time is a commodity that we cannot get back. So anyway, Jay, back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Jim. Because yeah, I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna, do anything half-assed, to be honest. If I do it, it's gonna be thorough. It's gonna be legitimate. I mean, I've been doing this for 2+ years. I've been doing this with 10,000 plus hours. Like I have the research, I have the intel and the knowledge, and so I'm comprising this, and I put these things together to help people. But at the same time, I can't help to my detriment. So there
Hmm.
needs to be an even exchange because if I help you and you avoid thousands of dollars, lost and
Hmm.
then I get nothing out of that. That's not an even exchange. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I care about people, I have a heart for people, but this is a business. So,
Yeah, and you're right. Trust me, I'm going to just foot stomp this. It is an extremely reasonable price because if you think about what you just said, it could cost people thousands of dollars and wreck their lives and their careers. To avoid complete financial ruin, people could charge, 500, 1,000, thousands of dollars for this information that you said you've got over 10,000 hours of research and work that you put into this. Again, who's got 10,000 hours out there that's willing to go through the 10,000 hours to get to the level this man's at? He saved you all of that legwork and compressed it into a form that you can get right to what you need to know, and it's less than $50, folks. So again, anyone out there wants a challenge that's expensive, I implore you to really think about what your time is worth. So anyway, back to you, Jal. I'll get off the soapbox at that moment.
no, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And so here, let me know when you can see it.
Okay. We're waiting for it to come up.
Yeah, I know
Here we
there are those
go.
great boxes, but so vibe coding. I heard about this from a friend of mine, and he mentioned like how he's vibe coding different apps, and so I started to look into it. And then another person who has been instrumental with this, she's helped me with creating it and whatnot. And so what I've done is I vibe coded, and this is still in the beta stage, but it's source verification. And so,
Wow.
using the direct casework that I have, you can type in different messages or you can paste screenshots. This is still being developed, but basically, you type in the screenshot. I mean, you type in the language that these recruiters use that are fake. So, like, kindly send me a connection request, and then you click check for fraud signals, and it goes into my repository of information that I've already put in
Yep.
here from my prior casework, and it says high risk, explanation from me as to why. Do not proceed. Report this recruiter to the platform and relevant authorities. This is a classic scam recruiter opener. Real recruiters don't ask you to send a connection request. The reason these fake ones are asking to send a connection request is because they've maxed out their connection request through to bot massive connection requests that week. And I believe you can have up to 250 connection requests you can send until it resets on Sunday evening. And so when they're mass connecting, they then, once they reach the limit, they have to ask you to do it, because not only is it a one-fold benefit because you're connected with them, but
And
it's
you become a
twofold
follower.
because, yeah, so that's the twofold thing. So this is that is one angle. There's another phrase, or like I'm having it programmed to where it can you can paste entire emails that fraudulent recruiters send to you, and it'll actually show you the case rundown that I've covered. So give me 1 second, I'll give you a demo of
Yeah.
that. So hold
And
on.
and is this going to be publicly available for anyone on the internet to go to?
It'll be a fee with it attached, and then
Okay.
you'll have to share your
Yeah,
email so
because
you can
obviously
then,
you
yeah.
have a library, an AI agent, and you're having to pay for all that, folks. Maintaining websites and things of this nature cost monthly fees, and then it's not cheap. So again, yeah, if there's a fee associated with this, it just makes sense because again, as a businessman, there are expenses for running websites and running services on those websites.
Correct. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm just
No worries.
trying to find that guide, not guide, but the actual casework that had that
So while he's looking
language
that
in
up,
it.
folks, if anyone out there has a story they want to share of their experiences with the fake job profiles and job postings and positions out there, please comment below in the video below. Share your story with us, and you know what, your story might be interesting enough that the profiler himself might want us to follow up with you and maybe add it to his knowledge base and library that he's building every day. And so again, this is a phenomenal gentleman right here that went from a very common situation a lot of us will find ourselves in throughout our careers where we're looking for work. He could have turned the other way. He could have looked the other way and went about his life, but he said, no, this is wrong. And he immediately saw that was wrong. He says, let me learn what it takes to investigate this, to actually fight against this. And you know what? We're all better off for it. So again, kudos to Jay Jones here for fighting this good fight for on behalf of everybody in the industry. Because trust me, anyone watching up to this point has either felt that frustration of just applying to jobs and never hearing anything back, or potentially getting strung along, and or if worst case you became a victim of one of these fake jobs. But he's taking them down day by day, folks. That's a great crusade right there, and I hope more and more people rally and more businesses. If you're a business owner, I would implore you that if you're posting jobs out there on LinkedIn and any of these job sites, this is a guy you may want to run things by just to ensure that your company reputation as well as the candidate pool, so that you can actually get real candidates, because he's already saying they're stealing candidate information, scraping their profiles and applying the jobs. So it's wasting your hiring process's time and is getting you further from getting that capacity of people, because it takes people to run businesses, folks. And it's
Correct.
delaying your ability to find great candidates and people to bring it to your organization so you can continue doing great things and growing your business. So again, consulting with this guy might be the right move if you're a business owner.
Absolutely, thank you. And then I couldn't find the actual email, but
Okay.
what I'm referencing is the confidential pages on LinkedIn, because as you know, an executive search process happens behind the scenes confidentially. You never see a company saying, "Hey, we're looking for a new CEO." No, they go behind the scenes to an executive headhunting firm and do back channels to actually fill the role, because a bit of knowledge behind that is because they don't want the stock to be affected. They don't want the business to look like it's in turmoil at the executive level. And so this is why they do this discreetly. Now, what these confidential pages do is they pervert the executive search process by pretending to have confidential roles, and it gives this allure and this idea of being esteemed and credible and like C-suite type positions. And so, for example, since I couldn't find the email, you type in the word confidential. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
So you type in the word confidential, and then you hit check for fraud signals, and it says elevated, because the reason it says elevated is because there are real confidential recruitment processes. But when you run it against my database and my casework, you see where it becomes actual fraud. So when you see confidential, it's like pause, and make sure that you're actually dealing with something that's real, because it matches to the shell employer umbrella that I've discovered on LinkedIn called confidential. And so it lays out how the actual confidential profiles are set up. It says like a plausible name, the typical titles that they have, and they'll say add confidential. Typically, it's like a vague job title and 50 plus other jobs that they're hiring for,
Hmm.
because that's another thing. These fake profiles can infiltrate real job postings and silently collect information on the candidates that apply. And then these are screenshots from my prior cases. So if you magnify it, this is a real profile that existed. It was called Sissy Richard, but it's a fake profile because this is a stock image and the name is just from a random name generator.
Only five
But you see the
connections, five
correct,
followers. Yeah.
but these jobs it's already claiming to be hiring for. And so let me hit X. Now I've uploaded maybe 100 or so photos, but I have literally like 1,000 plus of these confidential pictures. So these are all the like example profiles, so you can actually see real examples from my previous cases. It's not conjecture. It's not something that is just made up. Like no,
No, it's
I
real and it's
went out
there.
of
Yeah.
and like if you just keep going, like Mia Susan, Amanda Morgan,
I mean,
Tony
and to
Russell,
just the
like
layman, they would just think this is a recruiter, this is a hiring manager. And again, it's got that purple hiring on the profile, everything that we're used to seeing. You're
you
absolutely
recognize
right.
that
But if you're
guy?
not paying attention to these flags, oh, that's Joe Biden. Now that should be a big red flag, but
10
awesome.
jobs though, and he's
Hey, he's
hiring
hiring
for
for
vice
vice
president.
president.
like like it's humorous, but it's like it's
Yeah.
dangerous
But
because if
no,
you
you're
yeah
absolutely right that they could be anybody, and they could look like people that you've known for years, even, like if you've interfaced and worked with a lot of hiring managers or program managers, they're still in the people that you know profile, because again, if they're either trying to game information or eventually get money, scam people.
yeah
Oh, what a name, Nicholas. So yeah, some of these are laughable, but the first few you showed us look like legitimate, everyday profiles that we would see. So
yeah,
hazard.
and this, yeah, but this is actually it's angering because this gentleman passed away. I forget his name, but
Oh.
they stole this picture from his obituary and put it on the
Mhm.
profile. And
No
they have
ethics, no morals, just despicable.
no yeah, and it goes on from
And that was
there.
140 jobs he was posting. So wow.
Yeah, I mean that's 93 here.
Hmm.
Let's see, this is 155.
155. Wow.
Yeah, and this is a major thing because people are applying to these jobs thinking that they're real. And there's a process where it could have been real at one point, but it expired. And then the company doesn't know where all their scrape jobs go because they can't like literally track them all down and say, hey, take this down. So if it was taken off of the company's website, but it was once on that website and scraped at that exact time that it was posted, then they could have filled the role, taken it down, but it's everywhere and you don't know where it actually traced back to, and it's a major mess.
Wow. Well, Jay, I know we could probably deep dive into all these aspects, and again, I want to respect your time as well. But folks, please check out. We're going to have some links to his website and socials, and any and of course the books. Please share the link to the one book that you had mentioned. We're going to put all in the
Mm.
description below, folks. So we're going to save you to Google search. Just pause this video, hit the description, click the URLs, take some time, arm yourself, empower yourself with knowledge, folks, because again, this world is full of scams, and then we got the advent of AI making scammers even more smarter and changing up their techniques. You already heard it
Oh,
from
hold on,
Jay
hold on, hold on.
earlier. Go ahead.
I'll never accuse him of being smart, but go ahead.
So yeah, they're Jay is here, already he's already witnessed them trying to pivot and maneuver in their techniques and tactics already because they know that this guy's out there fighting against them. So it's amazing how they're already shifting, and that's what threats do. They shift, they pivot, they find a new approach, right? And again, it's already happening now. So that means they're going to get more and more sophisticated. They're going to get better and better at it because that's how criminals work. They keep refining their methods because at the end of the day, the goal is to scam you out of money, folks. So take the time to arm yourself with knowledge and empower yourself. Jay, we could definitely talk more. And when do you anticipate that feature where people can go and paste in a job just to kind of do that quick gut check? Like I said, before they commit to really engaging and wasting time, when do you anticipate that service being available?
I don't have a hard date for it to launch yet. It's still in development. Like I literally, I finish this, I code, I go take care of the family, go do
Hmm.
other things, and then go back to it. But it won't be long. It's just I
Okay.
have to go through all the case files, and it's a massive undertaking, but hard
So
work doesn't
that right
deserve
there
it.
speaks to a man that's doing his due diligence, folks. Meaning he's not just there to make a quick buck. He's going to make sure that the product, the library, everything works really well. That is a very pragmatic man right there, folks. So he's not someone that's just out there to just take your money. He's actually out there to protect you. That speaks volumes to his character. And I just met him, like literally 10 minutes before this podcast recording, I met him. But from just this less than an hour, I can already tell you the caliber and quality of this man right here. And he's not trying to make a quick buck. He's doing a great service for all of the industry. And I can't wait till this goes beyond just the IT professional network of LinkedIn, that it goes across all job boards, all HR companies. I hope your business grows 1,000, 10,000x, 100,000x, man. You deserve all of that future success because you are fighting a great fight. And it's folks like this that, and then the folks you mentioned earlier that have rallied with you, that it takes great people, doing good work like this to further. Now, with that being said, this is going to go to my next question. A lot of us that are busy with our day jobs, which you're a very busy man, we do try to carve out time for the causes, nonprofits, volunteer charities, and organizations that are out there doing good work in the world. Whether we give of our time to volunteer for those organizations, or we give of our energy to promote their, posts and information and the causes that they're doing, or we give of our money to them to help further their missions and so forth. So the goal of this question is: there such an organization that you would like to shine a light on the positive, great work that they're doing in the world?
I'd like to shout out Loaves and Fishes. They're a great organization. They help people that are down on their luck in between jobs and like facing eviction and having food insecurity issues. They have food pantries around the country, I believe, and they do great work to help actually keep people, finding sustenance, finding some sort of stability. And one of the most harrowing times I've seen in my life. I mean, I'm 39, but it's very bad out here for a lot of people. And I'll pass like the food pantry lines, and they're getting longer and longer and longer. And it shouldn't be like that. There are more than enough resources. There's more than enough money out here for everybody to do
Yes.
well. And there will always be poor among us, but it doesn't have to be at this scale. And so, that's what drives this work. I want to see people actually win. I want to see people that are doing the work get the results from it, make the money that they should make, not be undercut, not be undercharged. Um, and yeah, I mean, loaves of fishes and Salvation Army as well. But yeah,
Not a great one. Well, please give me the links for their pages and socials, and I'll have them in the description below. So, folks, you could also check out their great work and missions there. So, my next question is: someone that's watching this right now says, all right, I know you have the Volume 1 and Volume 2 on your site, and you have the triage kit, but is there other resources? Like, if I wanted to just kind of just do some dabbling into studying, how to do threat intelligence research, OSINT, all of these multiple, kind of like a Batman utility belt of skill sets that you've had to acquire along your journey to become who you are right now. Is there some online resources, maybe some YouTube channels or some or websites that you could recommend? And if you don't know them off the top of your head, we'll definitely include them in the description below.
mm. Yeah, like one I routinely look at for laughs is Scammer Payback on YouTube. He's hilarious. Like he's this ethical hacker, and what he does is he pretends to be a job seeker or pretends to be a victim, and he'll get as much intel about the people as possible, hack their networks, shut down their systems and whatnot, and expose their scams and report to the appropriate authorities. And the other one is Kit Boga. He's well known, and he does the same thing. He baits them into raging and revealing their true nature and character. Because really, behind all of this, they'll use AI to create these polished messages and whatnot. But the minute you ask a question that deviates, or you ask something that is not on script, you start to see their responses taper off. You start to see them get more frustrated, and they're trying to manipulate and dominate you. First is deception, then it's manipulation, and then it's domination, where they get into the insults and whatnot. Because they want compliant people. They want people that don't stand up to cross examination. They want people that don't put them under cross examination, and they just want easy money really fast, and they don't actually want to invest anything. It's just take, 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 take. And this is where we are right now. And that's what I'm trying to stop. But yeah.
Is it one of those the guy that like he'll like wear like a grandma's wig? He pretends he's an elderly lady,
Yeah, we're
like
like, yeah,
confused.
so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, where he's got like the
Or he'll
gift
put the
card and
wrong
he's already
number in.
deposited, and then they're flipping out like, no, no, no,
Like,
no, no,
don't hit
no.
enter, don't hit enter, do not redeem the card. Yeah.
Dude, I redeemed the
I
card. I
actually,
love those.
actually, actually did one of those where it was the today's nurse scam, where they're going around calling nurses and saying they qualify to be a part of this magazine feature. But the ruse is you have to pay to be featured. So it's not a recognition of your hard work. It's a pay to
Hey,
play or pay
pay
to,
to
yeah.
play.
And so
Mhm.
I pretended to be a old lady. What was her name? I forget, but I was like, I forget her name, but I was like, yes, I got called for a magazine feature. And, I pretended to be a nurse from New York that was excited. and recorded the whole thing going through their whole spiel. And since that went out, it's kind of tapered off because people know now. But it's that kind of stuff that just wastes people's time and gets their hopes up for nothing.
Yeah, but I love it when these gentlemen and yourself scam the scammers. It's definitely entertaining to watch, but it does at the same time shine a light that they're well organized because you'll see some of these videos where he's hacked the CCTV feed of that room or
Yeah, it's a whole
webcam.
call center. Yeah.
It's a whole call center. I mean, these are full-fledged running operations with lots of staff, lots of people, because for the cost of an internet connection, they can, have access to hundreds of thousands of potential victims. So, and again, they only need to compromise like one person every day or every other day, whatever their metrics are, to keep them, going. And these are coming from countries where it's like where we're thinking, well, most people got to make like $15 an hour. That's the U.S., folks. These are countries where people are working for just pennies a day or pennies an hour rather, and so they can employ lots of people and the skill set to do this. They have scripts, they have things that are already pre-written for them and that have been tried and tested that they've refined along the way. And again, they're switching up their tactics as necessary because at the end of the day their objective is to waste your time and steal your money. Man, this has been an amazing conversation. I just want to say thank you again for doing this work. It is something that should be more recognized. More businesses should be coming to you to help preserve their reputation and help at the same time improve the candidate pool and help improve the job market because so many folks have been frustrated and just kind of just really gotten a bad taste in their mouth of the job market. But here you are fighting this good fight to try to make that job market safe again, as well as credible again, is the better word I use here. So thank you for that tireless work, Jay.
Thank you.
Before we close out, there was a couple other questions I wanted to ask, and what is in the plans for the rest of your 2026? Are we going to have see you on stages speaking at conferences? Are you got some events coming up? Is there maybe another book, another volume potentially? Is there what does the rest of your 2026 look like as far as milestones, accomplishments, and goals?
Well, I have the full novel, which will be about my work as the profiler. It'll delve into my background, my upbringing a bit, and then what led to this work, and leading up to the decision of becoming the profiler, quote unquote. Because actually, a brief excerpt from it is. In the past, I wrote a novel based upon this detective out of Seattle, and it was called The Profiler. But at the time when I was debating whether or not I should engage this work, I was like, well, I need some sort of memorable name. And I had like forgot that book. And I was like, maybe it'll be the Scam Stopper or the Scam Buster, but it didn't have the right ring to it. And then the Lord, he was like, you already have it. And then I was like, oh yeah, the profile. I wrote that years ago. And I was like, and it's just funny that, it all came full circle,
This came full circle.
yeah, so that speaking engagements are going to be more of a thing, and then also getting into different businesses to work with them to shore up their talent pipelines because this stuff can't continue because it just makes people lose hope, resources, time, lives, like I said before, and no bad actors getting by me.
Awesome. Well, folks, definitely follow him on his LinkedIn and his socials because there's going to be so many great things, and particularly looking out for that AI service to where you can go and leverage his knowledge base and those 10,000 and still counting hours of experience and research and threat investigations that he has compiled. It's going to save you time and ultimately save you from being a victim. All my guests this season, this was not in the agenda question, so Jay's going to be a little bit off guard on this one, but I give all my guests the final word. And Jay, the final word could be about this. It could be about IT cyber. It could be about your favorite color of the rainbow, your favorite cuisine, favorite place you visited. It could be about whatever you like to talk about, but the final word is yours, sir.
The final word is don't lose hope, don't give up. I know that sounds like cliche, but it's like there's only certain there's only a certain point that people can get pushed to before things get dire and get extreme. But there's always a choice. There's a choice to break down, or there's a choice to deal with the problem and move forward. And you can move forward broken, you can move forward nervous, you can move forward depressed, you can move forward with bad thoughts in your mind about the outlook. It can be bleak, but move forward. Like for me, like I'm naturally an introvert, but this work requires me to be more than that. It requires me to be uncomfortable. It requires me to be a leader. It requires me to actually be all these things to all these different people. But at the end, it's not about me. It's about serving others. It's about helping everybody, these companies and these people be safer while they're looking for work and just want to do business and not deal with this garbage and not also deal with gaslighting by saying that everything's fine and we're handling it and it's safe and this is trustworthy. And it's like, but who are you going to believe, the platforms or your eyes?
Well said. Well, Jay Jones, thank you for being on the Top Cyber Pro podcast.
Thank you so much, Jim.